Hey, today we want to talk to you about north versus south suburbs of Denver. Things that really impact you as a homeowner or a resident here. Things like the differences between lifestyle, affordability, HOA, vibe, all the most important stuff.
So by the end of this video, you are going to have the cheat code to figuring out not just north or south, but the best area of north or south that's going to fit you and your family life. And it's not just that opinion that your one friend who lives here gave you.
Or if it's maybe their friend Chatty G giving them advice.
Indeed. So we are Jake and Megan Friedel, your brother-sister team, full-time real estate agents, part-time tour guides to everything Southern Denver living.
And hey, whether you are looking to move in 9 days or 900 days, this is what we do every day. We help folks just like you find their place. So reach out in the description below with any more questions you've got. We're excited to talk to you.
All right, Megan, vibe check. Tell us about the difference between north and south.
Okay, I'll start with just kind of the feel of the two. So I would say in the southern end, because you're looking at a more master plan community, you have more HOA regulation, a little newer build, which really contributes to why it's got all the HOAs and a little more master plan feel. And along with that definitely comes some cookie cutterness, but also, some backing to open space, a little bit more trail dedication, whereas I don't think you see as much of that on the north side.
Right, and interesting, I think one thing you see on the north side is what we talk about. We talk about this cookie cutter problem, right? The north side's a little older, and for some reason, people are a little more gentle about like the same bungalow every third house because it's like 1940s charm instead of cookie cutter.
Yes, whereas down south, you've got not only like the newer cookie cutter, and then you've also got like the millennial gray catastrophes that we've come up with.
Yeah, so it's, the cookie cutter thing is maybe a little unfair, but you do have newer and older, and you do have a lot less homeowners associations on the north side.
Yeah, which, that is really a big deciding factor for a lot of people. Like, I have so many people come in from Texas or wherever they are from out of state, and they're really staunch about, I do not want an HOA run community. And so in that case, you're probably looking a little bit more north. But I'll also, we can dive more into HOAs in a bit, but I'll also say, don't let that be your deciding factor.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things that come along with some of the associations on the south side. If we're at Highlands Ranch or Ken Carroll, we have world-class recreation centers that come along with a $65 a month fee.
Yeah, maybe let's just talk about HOAs here. Let's just dive into it, because that I think is so true. And I would also say, most HOA communities, there are not many rules that impact my daily life. You have to consider, if you're coming with an RV, a camper, a trailer, those kinds of things, you've got to make sure your HOA is conducive to your life.
Right.
But for most people, the general run-of-the-mill rules that people are stressed about are not really that big of a hang-up for your life. So that's why I say, don't let it be your deciding factor. If it's an annoyance to you, maybe look at some more communities north.
Right. And well, I think when people talk about I want to avoid an HOA, I think most of those horror stories that they hear are involving townhomes and condo associations, right? Because, for example, some of the smaller HOAs, if your HOA is under $75 a month, they don't control your roof or your siding or anything. They're just going around monitoring, making sure you don't paint your house Pepto-Bismol pink and do anything crazy. But they're not responsible for the care of your home. They're just kind of providing services, right?
They're griping at the front exterior. Right. They're not griping about what you're doing inside, what you're doing in your backyard. For the most part, they're fairly hands-off on a lot of that stuff.
Right, and they might provide a lot of services. Even if you're thinking about, okay, Highlands Ranch, for example, you have to maintain your front yard. You have to have a certain amount of trees everywhere. But also something really cool is right now, Colorado is kind of in a drought, and we cycle in and out of drought. And right now, if you want to zero-escape your front yard, Highlands Ranch will actually help you pay for that, which is a really cool thing, right? If you just switch your sprinkler line to a drip line, they'll help you pay for that. If you completely zero-escape it, they'll give you $2.50 a square foot. So some really cool things come along with that, and they're not just nitpicking you.
Yeah, and when you are getting nitpicked, when you have the overbearing HOA, which, we have helped clients through, we actually have a document that we can send you that really kind of goes over your rights as a homeowner and what your homeowners association's rights are, and really helps you figure out, are they abiding by what they're supposed to? And, if there is some friction and that you need to address that with the company, then, there are some ways you can do that to make sure they are not overstepping what they're supposed to be doing as an HOA.
Right. And not to say that like that stuff doesn't exist on the north side as well, right? Something to remember is there are like the newer parts of Arvada, some of the newer parts of Westminster. That's kind of like more northwest, where there previously wasn't much development. And there's lots of new builds going out there. There are homeowners associations on that. So anything, pretty much anything, you know, homes built like after 1995 to 2000, you're going to frequently see at least some kind of homeowners association. Which is a good or a bad thing depending on which one you're in. All right, going along with the vibe thing, if you're talking to your friend Chatty G or putzing around the internet, it feels like you're kind of being directed, if you're a child-raising family, toward the south side. What are your thoughts?
Oh, there's definitely a conception of that, I would say. Yeah, even around here, I think there's a bit of that. But I would say, you know, like raising kids, there are a lot of people doing that all over both sides of Denver. I think it's more just kind of like a how people are doing it kind of way. And I would say Southern Denver, this is totally just a me assessment of putzing around different areas and like meeting up with my mom friends of different walks of life and like what we do. I feel like when I'm in the southern suburbs area, we go to a lot more places that are dedicated specifically for kids.
Right, like Kids Wonder or like Play Streams.
Spark the Senses, Play Street, yeah, or like our local library. And like we are just like two moms talking on the sidelines of the kids' activity. Whereas when I go a little, even just kind of on the south perimeter of Denver, but more on the north side, the options where there are like a co-existing space where it's like a coffee shop and a restaurant with fun activities for the kids to do, I think those become more readily available.
Yeah, well, I think there are more of those on the north side. So it kind of seems like almost like I'll say I think raising a kid on either side is a good place. I think you're going to find great pockets for that. But it does kind of seem like the south side, we're almost like kid directed, with the adults being kind of the secondary thought. And I think the north side, it kind of just feels to me like if you're in Arvada or, you know, Westminster, you're a little closer to Denver than we are all the way down south in, you know, in Highlands Ranch and such. Like the closer you are to Denver, the less you're kind of completely giving up on your cool, maybe.
Yeah. You're already more connected. You're more connected with like fun things to do. And so you're more used to that. Whereas like if you come to the southern Denver suburbs, you are basically cashing in, saying like, I am now dedicated to like my child rearing phase, and you're more acquiescing to that. Whereas I do feel there's a little bit more of a vibe of people doing a little more of both when you're on the north side.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny because like Centennial and like Littleton and like Lakewood, they are all closer to Denver. So I mean, those are also referencing kind of our south side comparison here, but they're closer to Denver, but still not as much of like, I think the integration vibe, the more the separation vibe. Like when I think about people who move to Arvada versus Centennial, like I feel like those Arvada folks are holding onto their cool a little more than we have. Like we've just completely given up.
Yeah, maybe. And you know, everything we're going to say, of course, in this video is such a generalization. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. And so I'm going to break in here and say, like, I moved to Highlands Ranch when I was 24 and never really looked back. I loved it right away. I was years away from having kids or being married, and it was great for me. And so I don't think like moving to the southern suburbs, I mean, like even a place like Highlands Ranch, which is kind of known for like raising kids, that you can do that in any walk of life. And for me, it was like, I wanted to be close to my family. Like you were here, you were moving here, and you were going to start having your kids here. But I also just wanted like the trails and everything that I already liked about Highlands Ranch. So like you can be any walk of life and find your little place and what you like about it. It just tends to be aligned with certain things. Like if you are more used to going out, like of course you want to be closer to Denver. And if you're in bed by 8:30, like you're okay with trading in the suburbs.
I like 8:30. I'm trying to get back to that life.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
But I will say, like, then I think there's almost like we're not doing an east versus west thing today, but there is then another division of east versus west. Because if you look on, you know, the north side of town, Arvada versus Thornton, Thornton is not nearly as cool. Thornton is more like, you know, it's not like as master planned as Highlands Ranch, but it is a little newer. But I also think a little more separation in the sort of like parent, what's a hangout place for? Is it for the parents of the kids, or is it kid focused versus parent focused? On your east side, you're going to see more newness. And so again, the closer to Denver, maybe being a little on the west side.
And we use the term like cool as a lovingly, jokingly term. Like, we're calling ourselves uncool. And that truly what we're meaning is like your proximity to like nightlife and maybe more like typically youthful things.
That's probably a really good thing to explain.
Like we're joking on ourselves here a little bit, and we're joking on the suburbs or things that maybe are a little bit further away from centralized things.
High level of self-deprecation going on for these two suburban parents.
Always.
So let's talk about something that's really important to those child-raising families, school districts. So to be clear, we as real estate agents are limited in how much we can talk and recommend schools. So we're not recommending any school districts based on others. We just want to kind of discuss the options that are available from north to south. Both have good and bad. So there's that to be found everywhere.
Yeah, to remain objective, we really kind of looked into niche school rating systems. It's just kind of a really accessible way to objectively look at what do other people say about how good schools are. And we're in luck. It doesn't have to put us in a weird position at all, because really there's a mix of mostly A's with a couple B ratings in there. So there wasn't much to really be like, you really want to avoid this area. We're not supposed to do that. And luckily we don't really have to, because...
Right. That's the good news about the Denver metro area is like we have pretty strong schools, as a national ranking. Schools are pretty good here.
Yeah. I think if you have specific needs or specific things you're looking for your kids, you go and you find those things, you find the school and you go from there. Or you could play the game like I do and you enroll your kid in the closest school to you and give it no more thought. But I think I'm definitely a rare bird on that.
You're a weirdo. Yeah, but we do have, on my side, we have done an extensive amount of research trying to figure out the right school for our kiddos. And we have tons of families all over the metropolitan area that we're always talking to about these things. So if you're looking for a more nuanced, in-depth conversation about finding the right school or school district for your kids, we'd be happy to do a call with you offline, a Zoom call or whatever. So reach out to us that way.
Yeah, that topic it's just so in-depth and it's so personalized to what you're specifically looking for and what your kiddo specifically needs, especially if they have special needs and special requirements. We really want to talk deeply with you about that.
Right. So let's dive into what schools do exist. So on the south side, the school districts are going to be Douglas County, Littleton Public Schools, Cherry Creek Schools, and Inglewood Schools. And they're all graded pretty highly here. So we've got Douglas County graded as an A. We've got Cherry Creek Schools graded as an A. Littleton Public Schools A. Inglewood School actually rated by Niche as a C. That's a pretty small district.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if it's like the most fair barometer because they've got like the one high school in it. So, it's not as big of a pool to grade on.
Yeah, definitely. On the north side, we've got the Adams Public School District, Boulder Valley, St. Vrain, and like Denver. But, Denver, we're talking about north and south, so we're going to skip Denver for today. Adams rated overall as a B, Boulder Valley School District as an A. That's a great school district. That's where my wife grew up. And St. Vrain School District as an A-.
As much as we would love to talk about how each of these have their certain place where they shine, like maybe the best ratios or best other features, there's kind of options for anything you're looking for in every school district. So all of the different school districts that we were just talking about have anywhere from like a 14 to 18 to 1 student to teacher ratio, which we were just talking off mic about how like that was not the case when we were kids. So that's super solid ratios.
Yeah, I had like a 33 to 1 or something. And I remember being in class, 33 kids and 1 teacher. So apparently there's like way less kids these days, which is probably a good thing for all the teachers out there. But yeah, we'd love to dive into like which school is best for your kid with like, if you have an individualized education plan or a 504 exemption or something like that. But the truth is like there's too many schools obviously for one short video today. So we'll be back in another video with that. Or obviously just reach out to us and we can do some research and help you find the right place for you. All right, but all this leads to the real estate values here, because there's a pretty big difference if we actually look at the data between like the pricing up north versus the pricing down south.
Yep.
And that shows us paints the story. So when we look at all the southern areas we're talking about, draw a big, kind of half circle shape around all the south side stuff. The average close price over the last 6 months for a house is $720,000.
Which is quite different than what you see on the north side. On the north side, you're going to see that number be $575,000.
But surprisingly, like the weird thing here is that you also have much bigger houses on the south side, meaning a lower price per square foot. So with those numbers on the south side, that gets you something like 2,300 square feet above ground, 3,400 square feet total, and that per square foot, dollar price is more like $234.
Yep, and on the north side, you're going to see the square footage be about 1,800 above, and then 2,400 with the basement. And
that price per square foot more like $243. So a little more expensive per square foot. You just get a smaller house on the north side, which kind of just goes along with like, I feel like the north side is in some ways just a little more accessible to Denver.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about the average build year in the two and we compare them, you had what was about 1998?
1998 on the south side.
And mine was about 1991. So where we keep talking about these being so much older typically on the north side, well, of course, there's going to be some breakaways from that. And on the east side of the northern suburbs, there's a ton of new developments, and all those new builds are really bringing that year to be a lot more recent than if you go over on the west side. That number, goes down quite a bit. You see a lot more older builds.
Right, with the exception of like the northwest parts of Arvada and Westminster. So I think as you get on the west side, with the exception of that little area, you have older homes, newer stuff on the east side. And then down south, everything is, I think it's more like evenly spread across the years on the south side, whereas we kind of have this like polarization happening up north. And then another piece to think about here is like, how competitive is it compared on the north side to the south side if you're a buyer?
Yeah, on the north side in last year, when we looked at the median days on market a home sat before it finally closed, we looked at about 22 on the north side, which is great.
Yeah, and on the south side, 26, which is like not really that meaningful of a difference.
No, so I mean, I think we can generally say if you're just comparing north suburbs versus south suburbs, they're selling about the same because there are little pockets in each. We talk about this all the time. Every time someone asks, how's the market in Denver? We're like, what part of Denver? Because it is such a micro market experience right now where it really depends which little area you're talking about. But if you group them all together, really comparable.
Right. And we're not doing the east versus west video today, but I do think that's probably where we're going to see the bigger difference is everything moves faster on the west side of town than it does on the east side of town because people come here to be close to the mountains. So if you're moving to Colorado, chances are a big part of that is because of the access to the outdoor lifestyle we have available here, which is so important to all of us.
Yeah, and I think the southern suburbs tend to be a little more built around outdoor access. When they were doing master plan communities, they really factored in trail access and backing to open space and what that looks like. And there's little small hubs kind of all around the southern corridor where you can do little bits of hiking, Castle Canyon, a few little hiking spots in Castle Rock. But I think if you're headed to like destination outdoor places, then maybe you have a little more access to that on the north end.
Yeah, so north end, you've got tons of access to more destination-y sort of places. Like you're really close to Boulder, and Boulder is a gorgeous place with tons of climbing and hiking access. You've got the Flatirons is just gorgeous right there. So if you're on the north side, you're cutting off like 45 minutes of your trip on your way to Boulder from the Denver or from the northern metropolitan area. Other things like, another thing you might consider if you're looking at north side versus south side is the destinations that are available to you from the north. Like you're much faster to Estes Park, which is a gorgeous little outdoor town. I mean, that's one of my favorite places. I've been to a couple weddings in Estes Park, and it's just a couple hour drive away, and it's a really nice escape from the city, which is, let's be real, that's like why you're moving here, right? Access to these outdoor areas. Now, north side and south side, I would say probably, maybe I would favor the north side just slightly for access to skiing, but really only probably like 10 to 15 minutes, because I think south side, you have a little farther to go, but the 470 trip on that west side is a little faster than the trip from I-70.
And that's more an east versus west thing for me. Are you coming from Ken Carroll or are you coming from Aurora, North Aurora? So
Right. So skiing access, it's nothing like Utah where you can drive like 20 to 30 minutes to get your skiing. You still have, a 2-hour drive to some of the best skiing in Colorado. But on the north side, you've, like I said, Estes Park, Boulder, Nederland, lots of cool spaces up there. Both areas have pretty equal access to Evergreen, which is a really nice, foothills mountain.
That's what I was going to say, is Evergreen is like kind of the in-between, where it's kind of like right in the middle. And then if you're going on the south side, like Deckers, if you're really into fishing, this is a great place to go fish. Over kind of near that area, there's a couple little places for hunting. Listen, you're in Colorado. If you go on the west side, you throw a dart, you can end up somewhere cool.
True. And on the south side, also access to Colorado Springs. I think a lot of people come here and like they have family in Colorado Springs. There's lots of military presence in the springs.
Yeah.
And down there's nice little mountain towns too, like Manitou Springs.
The Manitou Incline destination is really fun to go to.
Right. In general, I would say like south side is maybe a little less mountain town and a little more kind of like, untouched, like a little bit, right? Like the direct access to the mountains like Deckers is kind of more wild. Like Deckers is a big town, like Estes Park.
That's like your raw outdoor recreation.
Right. Fishing and hunting right there. And then maybe more of like the town access on the further north. So, and on the other side is like south side if you want to be close to Colorado Springs, north side if you want to be close to Fort Collins.
Yeah.
Does that cover it? I think that's it. Absolutely everything you could ever want to know about north versus south.
I don't think so. I think there's a lot more to know about Colorado and finding the right place. And we have tons of videos that can help you figure out what your right place is, but none of that is a true replacement for a conversation with us.
Yeah, 2 Denver natives who have been here our entire lives. We've never left. We've loved it here for the entire time.
And we help folks just like you find their place in the Denver area every day. And I know a lot of real estate agents, especially on YouTube, are out there saying that, and it's not always true, but we really do help folks like you all the time. You can see all of our business history on Zillow and see that it's real. We're really working out here and we are really knowledgeable on the topic.
We really are here to help you find your perfect place. So we can't wait to talk to you. Please reach out, text message, email, whatever you'd like to do.
All the info's in the description below.